This content is not suitable for children and may contain depictions of violence.
Hi Islanders, grab a beer and pull up a deck chair. Tonight we go to the outer suburb of Melton, which is about 35 kilometres or 22 miles west of Melbourne, Australia. Actually, it's a bit more than a suburb, having a population of around 70,000 people. Anyway, in 2005, there would be a crime committed that would shock the community, but also raise a few discussions on workplace safety. First off, I'd like to thank everyone who subscribed to the channel. Now, I'm starting to get the hang of it a bit now and plan to add more features, so keep watching. Now, let's get stuck straight into it. We got references tonight from the Herald Sun, the Sydney Morning Herald, lawyersconveyancing.com.au, abc.net, Billion Graves, and of course a heavy reliance on court records. Okay, so I said we go to Melton, Victoria tonight, and in this case, look, it's just another one of those senseless crimes perpetrated by someone with no prior convictions, who kept his perversions to himself and online until one day he decided to act them out in real life. It's a case of the rape and murder of Lorelle Mary Makin. Lorelle was born on the 30th of January 1957 to Shirley and David O'Keefe and christened at Sacred Heart Church in St Kilda. David and Shirley had met at St Kilda Town Hall on a dance night in 1955. I mean, that's so romantic. That's better than swiping left or right. Lorelle was the eldest of 5 children, and she would become the loving and supportive mother of 2 of her own children, Samantha and John. She worked as a sales consultant at Elders Real Estate in Melton. She enjoyed aerobics and netball. She was also a mad supporter of the St Kilda Football Club. Samantha Makin, Lorelle's daughter, described her mother as her mentor and her best friend, who supported her and her brother John with unconditional love, and she said her mum lived for her children. Lorelle's sister, Lisa Preston, said Lorelle was a beautiful person that she could have a good laugh with, have fun shopping with, who she enjoyed watching films, football and having dinner with. Lorelle's brother, Michael O'Keefe, said Lorelle was his best friend. Terry Makin was Lorelle's husband. Now, they'd met in 1977 on a train while Terry went to his apprenticeship and Lorelle to St Aloysius College in North Melbourne. As I said before, they had 2 children, Samantha and John. So Lorelle had been working at Elders Real Estate in Melton since around 2000. She started there on the reception desk, moved up to be in charge of the rentals, then studied, sat and obtained her real estate licence, and now she was able to deal with sales. Her cousin Mandy said she really wanted to prove herself. Now, this career progression caused a little bit of tension between her husband Terry and herself. Now, Terry being a refueler at Tullamarine Airport. Lorelle was becoming more independent, especially financially independent, and her career was blossoming. Lorelle and Terry had an investment unit, so Terry moved into that while they were separating. Lorelle had started seeing someone else and Terry found out, and as you can imagine, this really causes stress when people try to move on in their lives and the other can't accept it. So let's get some background on the perpetrator in this case, Xie Liao. Liao was born in China in September 1970. His parents were teachers, but had both retired by 2005. Liu has 2 younger brothers, 1 year and 5 years younger than him, who also reside in China. They worked for the government departments in the area of immigration and trade respectively. Liu had a distant relationship with his father, who'd been an alcoholic with a capacity for aggression, but he had a close relationship with his mother. Lu completed 2 years of secondary education in the area of Quanzhou in the Fujian province of China. In January 1987, at the age of 16, he came to Western Australia on a student visa. He attended an international college in Perth, which had a business orientation. Now, he did that for about a year. During this period, Lu learnt English, and ultimately in 1989, he completed Year 12 at a Catholic college in Perth. Lu then attended a TAFE institution, which is technical and further education. He did that in Perth with the ambition of becoming a mechanical engineer. He didn't like the practical aspects of the course, and he left after 1 year. Lu got an extension of his student visa by the Australian government after the incident in Tiananmen Square, and in about 1997, he became an Australian citizen. Meanwhile, in 1991, Lu commenced working as a kitchen hand in Perth, and it's an occupation he didn't find intellectually stimulating. He then spent some 5 years driving a delivery van for a Perth bakery called Minus. At one stage, Lu attempted a computer engineering course for 1 semester. Finally, Lu worked as a security guard for the city of Perth. Now, Lu was an instructor in the martial arts of Ninju Kaijitsu. Now, while living in Perth, Lu formed a relationship with a Marie Swan, and they had a daughter who was born in 1999. Lu established his own business, which essentially involved importing porcelain lamps and clothing from China. In 2003, after breaking up with Marie, Lu decided to relocate to Melbourne, leaving Marie and his daughter. But when he transferred the business to Melbourne, it went broke. Now, Lu kept in contact with his daughter every day. And he wasn't stupid. He could speak Mandarin, Cantonese, his own dialect, and he was pretty good at English. It was said by his friends and workmates that he was a hard worker, honest and polite, helpful and compassionate. So what the fuck happened? Now, before we get to the day of September 15, 2005, several months earlier in June, Lu calls up Elders Real Estate and meets with Lorelle for the purpose of inspecting a house. Now, Lorelle is blonde and just 5'2", and Lu admitted to his ex Marie Swan that she reminded him of her. Whether or not the inspection was genuine, or if Lu had just been stalking Lorelle, we probably will never know. Anyway, now we get to September 15, 2005. Lorelle left to go to work at approximately 8:15 a.m. She'd had a brief telephone conversation with her daughter Samantha at 11:40 a.m. She had an appointment to show a 2-storey house at 30 Milverton Street, Melton at 12:15 p.m. Now, this was for a vacant house advertised for sale. And of course, that was Lu. Lu had 4 mobile phones at the time, but he chose to call Lorelle and make this appointment by using a public phone box. Now, why would you do that? He also parked his car at Hannah Watts Park. Now, that's 2 kilometres or 25-minute walk away. Now, it can't be confirmed, but Lu may have taken a roll of clear packing tape and black garbage bags with him to the property. Now, Lu had debts of $60,000 at the time, so he's in no financial state to be buying a house. Anyway, Lorelle meets Lu at Milverton Street and they enter the property. As you can imagine, Lorelle shows him around the ground floor rooms and then they go upstairs. Now, there's a bit of a trigger warning here, if you may find the description of the attack uncomfortable. So fast forward maybe a minute. It's here in the upstairs bathroom that Lu attacks Lorelle. Lorelle fights for her life, but as I said, she's only 5'2", and Lu is a fit martial arts expert. From bloodstains and splatter, it looks like Lorelle put up a bit of a fight. Now, Lu beat Lorelle around the head and the face area before using the packing tape to gag her. He then strips her, bends her over the bath and proceeds to rape her. However, he seems to not have been able to maintain his erection. He then strangles Lorelle and leaves her face down in the bath, partially covering her with the black plastic bags. Lu then cleaned up the bathroom area. This included washing blood from Lorelle's body using the bath taps. He then left the property, driving Lorelle's blue Holden Commodore to the Melton Valley Golf Course. Now that's near where he had originally parked his car at Hannah Watts Park. Timothy Farnan, he was the Director of Elders Real Estate at Melton, and between 4 and 4:30 p.m, Russell Parker notified Farnan that the keys to a property in Milverton Street were missing and Lorelle had not been seen for some time. He checked a diary and observed that there was an entry for that day, 12:15, 30 Milverton Street. He went to a couple of other properties on the way to see if she was there, but arrived at the Milton Street property at approximately 7 p.m. Farnan calls police and they obtain a key from the owner of the property. Again, a trigger warning for those that may not want to hear the details of what the police would find. Just again, fast forward about a minute. They found Lorelle's body in the upstairs bathroom, partially covered with the plastic bags. They checked for signs of life and formed the opinion that she was dead. Lorelle was naked from the waist down and her top was lifted up, exposing her breasts. She'd been gagged with clear packing tape and her injuries included minor bruising and abrasions to the left and right cheek and the left side of the nose, as well as a hemorrhage on the inner surface of the upper lip. Now, all of these were attributable to blunt trauma. Bruising and abrasions beneath the chin and on the right side of the neck were consistent with manual neck compression, whilst petechial hemorrhages around the facial skin, eyes and inside the lower lip were indicative of asphyxia. Her mobile phone, keys and car were also missing. Now, earlier in the day, Maurice Swan, Lou's ex, received a telephone call from him approximately 12:15 p.m. Perth time or 2:15 p.m. Melbourne time. He stated that he'd done something and couldn't change it. When she asked what he'd done, he responded that he couldn't tell her, but said that she should change their daughter's name. That's weird. He also suggested that she take their daughter away, perhaps even overseas. Now, later that day at approximately 5:15 p.m. Perth time or 7:15 p.m. Melbourne time, she received another call from him saying that he'd done something terrible, but he wouldn't elaborate. He spoke of a real estate agent who, he said, was like her and told her that she said something to me. I don't know what it was, but I snapped and I was just so angry. It was uncontrollable anger. I was so angry. I don't remember what it was, but then he said I was choking her and that he ran out of the house. Now, they discussed the options available to him. Now, namely, that was confess or flee. Now, after this conversation, Miss Marie Swan, she called her former husband in Victoria. Now, when she later received another phone call from Lou, she told him to go to the police because she had to go to the police as well. Now, Lou, he also rang his mother in China and he told her what he'd done. So, Marie's now given police a huge break by naming Lou as a suspect in this event that had happened in Melbourne. One of the crime scene investigators, Senior Constable Darren Watson, he went to the Melton Valley Golf Course on the 16th of September, that's the day after, where Lorelle's Holden Commodore was discovered. And also that morning, he conducted a more detailed search of the Milverton Street property. He observed blood stains on the carpet at the top of the stairs. Now, no blood was found in the bathroom itself because Lou had cleaned that up. He found a roll of tape on a table downstairs in the house. Now, one fingerprint, and this would end up belonging to Lou, was found on the bath. Now, this indicated that he basically tried to wipe clean the scene before leaving. Senior Constable Travis Baxter, he went to a car park in Flinders Lane where Lou's car, a black Ford sedan, had been located. He searched that vehicle and 3 bins close by. In one of the bins, he found the set of keys belonging to the Milverton Street property. Detective Senior Constable Robert Nazaretian also attended the car park and inspected the vehicle. In one of the bins, he found a plastic bag containing blue denim jeans, a white shirt, a grey t-shirt and a pair of white socks. They also found some white undies. There was also an Express Telegraph property guide. Now this belonged to Lorelle, and this was found in Lou's car. Now another thing they found in the bin was a white Target bag containing a light coloured jumper with a zip in the neck, clear packing tape and a notepad. After forensic testing, indentations revealed that a page of the notepad that had been removed had a number of phone numbers and names written of it of persons who had attended Elders Real Estate in Melton in June or July 2005. And guess who? It had Lou's name and number on it. Now on the 16th of September, again this is the day after, police located and arrested Lou before he could skip the country. Now the way they did this was quite interesting. Now as you know, Lou had called his ex Marie, who was living in Perth, and told her he'd done something bad, something that couldn't be undone. Well, she then contacted her ex-husband in Melbourne, asking if anything bad had happened that day. Now, he told Marie that a real estate agent had been murdered. Marie then told her ex-husband, all the details she had of the phone calls Lou had made to her, and asked her husband to ring Crime Stoppers to pass on the information. Now, this is really good because this is what got in court really quickly. Now, once investigators found out about Lou, they contacted Marie. Now, they asked her to call him and lure him to a bank on the premise that she needed him to transfer money for his daughter before he fled back to China. Now, Lou had called his mother and told her he was coming back to China, maybe on a flight that afternoon. Now, it was said also that maybe he was going to give himself up, but I reckon he was going to flee. As Lou made his way to the bank, police were triangulating and tracking his mobile phone, and they were able to arrest him on arrival. Lou was examined by a Dr. Helen Parker, who observed some minor injuries to his hands, arms and legs. Now these were consistent with a struggle, of course, the struggle with Lorelle. When asked why he attacked Lorelle, Lou said, "When I get angry, I lose control." When asked if Lorelle said or did anything to make him angry, Lou responded, "No, honestly, she was a very nice lady." Now asked therefore why he killed her, now he responded, "I couldn't explain why I did it. It could be a thing I was thinking. I was thinking about my financial situation. I get frustrated. It could be a lot of things. I don't think it could be only a single reason. It could be a combination of a lot. Now, I reckon he's just a grubby little man who's perverted, and he just acted out his perversions on her." When searching his house, the police located a videotape of an internet site depicting a blonde female performing explicit sexual acts upon herself, together with further video footage of Lou having sex at his Sydenham unit with a woman who apparently was a sex worker. Additionally, a computer hard drive seized from that address contained a plethora of sexual images downloaded from various sites, which may generally be described as porn. There were 10 downloaded video clips of interest to investigators. Now, 9 of them were downloaded on the 14th of September, that was the day before the attack, and one downloaded at an earlier date than that, the 10th of September. In 8 of the 10 clips, the women appear to be gagged. Now, also on his computer were images with scenes of couples having sex inside a bathroom and a bathtub. So this is all starting to add up, isn't it? The hard drive also contained emails indicating Lou had met Lorelle about 2.5 months before her death to inspect the house and had contact with other Elders real estate agents, namely Julie May. Luckily, she never met Lou, but had received an inquiry from him in relation to another property at an earlier date. Jennifer Petkoff, a close friend of Lou's, told police at least a few months before his arrest, Lou phoned her and said he wanted to move in with a real estate agent. Now, what he said, he spoke about an older woman who wanted him to move into her nice house and that she was a real estate agent. Now, I think this was the start of his fucking fantasy. Now, prosecutors, when they go to trial, they've got to sort of work out if this rape and murder was premeditated or not. Clearly, Lou had no money to be buying houses, so that's one thing. Did he just organise a house viewing to get Lorelle alone? Also, there was the matter of the packing tape and the black plastic bags. Now, did he bring them with him, or were they already at the property? Now, the clear packing tape, apparently there was some at the property, but the owner said it was downstairs, not upstairs. So the mere fact of Lou taking it upstairs shows some premeditation, even if investigators couldn't prove he took it to the scene. Now, with the black plastic bags, look, I wasn't able to find too much out about that, whether he brought them from his car or if they were under the sink in the house. Now, in court, Lou tried to play down all aspects of what he'd done. He tried to blame Lorelle for setting him off, making him angry, and only then did he rape her, strangle her, and left her for dead. He tried to make out, though, she was still alive when he left. Now, in his interview with a psychologist, Mr. Ian Joblin noted that during my interview with him, he actually contradicted himself. At one point indicating that he choked her first and then had sex. On another occasion, he indicated that he had sexual relations with her and then choked her. So, if you're going to lie, have a good memory. In relation to the pornography found on the internet, the Crown's submission was that Lou planned to act out sexual activities that he'd viewed that previous evening. Well, I reckon he did it a lot more than that previous evening anyway. It was pointed out that Lorelle was gagged, her lower clothing removed, and her upper garments pulled up, exposing her breasts. Moreover, it was asserted that the woman involved in this pornography, like Lorelle, were blonde and older than Lou. Also, it was found that in the days prior to the attack on Lorelle, a submissive pornographic site was accessed and an image of a female being held underwater was downloaded onto the hard drive of his computer. So all this porn starts to look like the attack on Lorelle. Now, the judge would remark at the end of the trial, he would say, "The exact sequence and nature of your attack upon Ms. Makin will never be precisely known. In my view, your version of events to police and to your former partner, Ms. Marie Swan, is laced with a mixture of lies, half-truths and self-serving statements. Your claims of a spontaneous attempt at rape and a lack of any murderous intent when you caused Miss Makin's death were both rejected by the jury." So there you go. Lou would be found guilty on both the rape charge and the murder charge. On the rape charge, he was sentenced to be imprisoned for 10 years. On the murder charge, he was sentenced to 22 years. Now, further, it was directed that 5 years of the rape conviction be served cumulatively upon the murder conviction, making a total effective sentence of 27 years. A minimum period of 22 years was fixed before Lou would become eligible for parole. Now, that's not far away, and that's in 2027. Now, out of this, real estate agencies would have to review the guidelines when showing people properties. Now, these guidelines would establish a number of sensible and easy to implement procedures. So it'd be something like ensuring there were procedures in place when conducting individual tours of properties, such as maintaining regular phone contact with the office and establishing that the customer is genuine. Also, limiting the amount of personal information that's made available about agents. Now, it's all basic stuff, you'd think, but back in the day, things like this just weren't thought about. They were just unheard of. Okay, so Lorelle's been sadly missed by her family and friends. She was just doing her job when this human scum decided to act out his perverted sexual fantasy. Now, from what I've researched, he'd met up with Lorelle months before he lured her to the fake house inspection. I reckon he formed some sort of infatuation with her as he made comments to friends that a real estate agent wanted to move in with him. But this was just in his grubby little mind. And when he finally got her alone in the house, he probably put it to her that he was interested in her. Now, when she knocked him back, he got violent, attacked her, and ultimately he took her life. Now, regardless of whether she would have accepted his offer or not. I reckon, and this is just my opinion, he was still going to act out his rape fantasy that day, and he was prepared to kill if required. Now, after being caught, the gutless little prick, he just had a bunch of half-truths and lies to try and lessen his involvement in her rape and murder. Now, this little scum, he hasn't shown any remorse for his actions, and I really, really hope they don't let him out on parole in 2027. Anyway, at Lorelle's funeral, there were around 300 people, with some wearing St Kilda football jerseys. Now, that's a team she was so passionate about all her life. She was celebrated as a loyal, honest, loving, trustworthy and helpful person who lived with her adult children, Samantha and John. It's just such a fucking shame. So that's the end of this week's show, another sad show, but that's, I guess, what true crime's all about. Now, these perps really bring on the rage for their senseless, selfish acts. Now, we hope they all get on that karma bus to Boomfuckalunga. So that's the end of the show. If you want to support the island, there's links in the description for Patreon, PayPal and merch. Please feel free to comment, like and subscribe. I've been your host, Cambo. You've been watching True Crime Island. And as I always say, don't forget to delete your browser history. Good night. Boomfuckalunga.